What's going on, everybody? Scott Bauer here with the Hashtag Investors podcast. Today we have our 27th episode, and I'm blessed to have Drayco Properties here, Andy Speed and Undrea King with us. Those two actually are down in the Houston market. They met in a Houston-based mastermind group in late 2016. Andy was a rehabber. Undrea was a wholesaler, and the two began spending several days a month masterminding and discussing the opportunities and challenges in their individual businesses. The more time the two spent together, the more they realized that their values aligned and their skill sets complemented each other. Therefore, it became apparent that they should partner together and build a massive wholesale business that adds value to the marketplace. So with that being said, welcome to the show, guys. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great, Scott. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Why don't you give the listeners a little bit more about your background and kind of what you're focused on now?
All right.
Did you hear me?
Oh, we lost connection there for a second.
Oh,
there we go.
Okay. Why don't you give the listeners a little bit more about your background and what you're focused on now?
So my background is Andy. My background's in supply chain management. Went to the University of Houston. You know, one of the requirements for my parents was you are going to college.
Right.
My parents did, so that was really important to them. Went to school for supply chain management, entered into a 7-8 year career. As I exited the marketplace, I was U.S. supply chain manager for a pipe manufacturing company. For that 8 years, you know, my goal was that next promotion, that next pay raise. Getting my boss promoted was kind of my big motto, if you will. But I made it where I was trying to go, and I wasn't happy. So, you know, I realized that something was missing. It wasn't the money that I was chasing that wasn't important, because I had, you know, no fears or whatever of my budget. I was just living. I was unhappy. So it was put on my heart to jump into real estate, and, you know, I was afraid to make that leap. And then, you know, in November of 2015, I was laid off. So it kind of expedited that decision for me. I spent a few months soul searching, went to a 3-day seminar, and then I've been full-time in real estate ever since.
Awesome. And I can actually assimilate with that a lot. I was in supply chain management before I got into real estate as well, here in Phoenix. Worked for the third largest third-party logistics company in the country at the time. This is back in 2011. So, you know, I can relate a lot to that. How about you?
So for me, it's Undrea. So mine was a little bit different. So I wasn't in supply chain management, but you know, for me, you know, I had this entrepreneur bug, like from the early 20s, and so it was something I always wanted to be a part of. But I ended up going and getting a job, and I had a job at one of the national health club chains where I was a general manager. And so I'd been a general manager there for the past 13 years. But throughout that time, I always had this, you know, I need to get out and do something else. I want to do more. You know, I wanted to grow with the company. So I was always doing things to make myself better. I was always reading. You know, I ended up going back to college, finishing my degree later on. And so I was always wanted something more. And so I just started researching. I didn't know what business it was going to be. I just knew I wanted something else. And so one day I was watching, you know, just like a lot of people out there, is that I was watching HGTV. And I don't know if anybody's seen this show, but it's called Flip or Flop.
Yep.
And so I was watching Flip or Flop. And typically what happens on the show is that they say, well, the realtor just called and they told us about this house that we have, and then they ended up flipping this thing and making $100,000. And I was like, okay, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm interested, but I didn't like the flip part of the business, right? So I said, man, that's pretty cool. They can take a house, you know, make it look beautiful, and then sell it and make over $100,000. I like the money, don't like the other part of it. Right. So on one episode, they said, instead of the realtor, they said, hey, we had a wholesaler bring us a house, and we paid the wholesaler a $10,000 assignment fee. And then they went on from there, and I said, wholesaler, and they paid him $10,000, right? And so I rewinded it, and I said, what is a wholesaler? So I went on to Google and Googled this. What is wholesaling? And when I did that, like everyone, like all these gurus, everyone popped up, and so I started looking at this one guy. He had like 100 free videos on YouTube, and And basically he was just going step by step, like, this is wholesaling, this is what you need to do. And, for me, I said, you know what, that aligns with what I'm already doing, because in the gym industry, we were out there changing lives through fitness, right? And most of the people that were out there, they had a real reason for the reason that they wanted to join the gym. It wasn't just because they wanted to lose weight, something happened to them. And so I saw the same thing with wholesaling, is that the reason why people would sell to a wholesaler is something happened to them. There was something wrong with the house. There was something wrong financially or circumstances. Something happened. And that's the reason why they came to someone like myself, to a wholesaler to sell the house. So I said, you know what, that's kind of what I'm doing, but not quite, but I'm going to go with it. And so that's what I did. This guy said, hey, go put out some bandit signs and just start rolling from there. And that's what I did. And that's what started me and jump-started me in the wholesale business.
Right. And how long ago was that?
So that was in mid 2015. Is when I was watching HGTV, and I got started probably in the next couple of months. I was out rolling with my bandit signs and direct mail and everything else.
And so, and you guys have been, how long has Drayco Properties been together? Is that a brand that you both put together originally together, or was it one and then one came on?
No, it was Undrea's business. Undrea's had Drayco from the beginning. I came on in August of last year. Okay.
And you were fixing flipping? Did I get that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what does the operation look like now? You start wholesaling. Wholesaling is a great method, right? I think it's how a lot of people get started nowadays, because they realize kind of what the opportunity looks like. It allows you to get in and buy properties without any of your own money out of pocket necessarily. And so, it's really a great method to get in there, but you can also blow it up quite a bit bigger than that. And so give me a little bit more information about what your operation looks like now. How many are you wholesaling? A lot of properties? Are you taking any of them down? Are they only single family? Give me a little bit more information about that.
Okay. So we were about 99% wholesale.
Okay.
I'm including some hotels in there. So we do take down properties. We do buy them. Mostly when it's either strategic or just operationally, it makes sense to take it down. If there's a seller that's maybe a little bit skittish about people being in their house, or situations like that, or where we need to get the seller out of the way first before we can do what we need to do to sell the property. So 99% wholesale every now and again. Actually, it's been about 3 or 4 months since we've sold our last flip. We have done a few flips, but mostly just adding a little bit of value, doing some whitewashing or cleaning up the property, right, what you'd call wholetailing.
Right. And is it only in the Houston market?
Yeah. So, the Houston market is large. So right now we are in the 5 counties around Houston as well. Which is it's a fairly large space that we're in. But yeah, so yeah, it's a huge space. So, for the most part, it's in and around the Houston area is where we're at. And like Andy said, we looked at it and said, okay, Andy had been in the flipping, I was into wholesaling, but we looked at it and said, you know what, we could scale this business out a lot quicker on the wholesaling side, right? And then we looked at if we get the proper training and we buy the properties right, we can make just about what a flipper would make if we do this right, without affecting our end buyer. And that's kind of what we've been on this thing. And so now we've kind of built out the team now. When we first got started, just Andy and I think I had a transaction coordinator at the time as well. And so it was just Andy and I, and I was dispositioned. So I was the person selling the properties, and Andy was out there locking them up. But soon after, we knew that, okay, if we're going to build this like a business, then we're going to go out and recruit some great people, and we're going to build it out. And that's what we did. We went and hired acquisitions to go out and lock up the property. We have dispositions guy that's, of course, taking care of that part. And then we have transaction coordinator who is basically taking our deal from start to close. Right. And then, of course, a lead manager. And our lead manager is basically answering the phone calls. We answer all of our phones live between 9 and 6. And then, of course, we have Pat Live answer after that. But outside of that, we try to get as many people answered directly. And then, of course, we also have 3 VAs, and all of them are, 2 of them are on cold calling, all of our, cold calling our leads. And then we have one that's basically just out anything we need done. But for the most part, she's putting together some niche list to help us with our marketing.
Right.
But that's what our team looks like now. And of course, Andy and I, as the CEO and the COO, I'm still doing marketing. So I'm doing all the marketing, all that kind of stuff. Andy's making sure that the team is rocking and rolling. Okay, but that's where we're at right now.
So let's dive into that a little bit more because so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional people on top of you two, right?
Right.
Are these salary? Are they commission? Are they a combination of both? Let's get into the details on that a little bit.
Okay. So all of our sales staff, sales and dispositions, they're 1099. They're paid per deal on a percentage basis. Lead manager is going to be hourly. We treat her more salary than hourly. Transaction coordinator, we're now bringing in-house. It was a transactional role that we had, but we're bringing that in-house. We've got the volume now, and we've got some things that we're not doing that we need to be doing.
Okay.
And of course, all our VAs are paid by the hour.
Right. Are you doing, and because I've always not struggled with this, but before bringing in a lead manager, I feel like you got to be bringing in a ton of leads, right? Mm-hmm. So what is the lead count? I mean, what is your method of marketing to get these leads in, and what does the size and scope of that look like?
Okay, perfect. So I can handle that. So, for us, the most consistent lead, which is a lot of people out there, has been through direct mail.
All day long, brother. All day long.
Yeah. So direct mail has been our most consistent. We send out anywhere between 12 to 14 pieces out a week.
Of 14,000?
14,000. Yeah, 12 to 14,000 pieces out a week in direct mail. And now bandit signs has been something that we've been strong on lately here in the Houston market. Bandit signs hadn't been as strong. Right after the hurricane, we had kind of a stimulus package for us for wholesaling. So the bandit sign world, went up, but now it's of course going back down. The second for us right now is cold calling. We added cold calling to the mix about 4 months, February. So back in February. And I would say that's probably our second most consistent. And we basically just built kind of an ecosystem on that, is that the people that we're mailing, we're also calling those people. But we found that we're able to catch people in different parts of the business also. And so that's leading us on to a few, retail deals along with some wholesale deals. We just refer that over to our realtor for those.
Right.
But I would say for the most part, I'll go ahead.
Are you guys both licensed or no?
I'm licensed. I just recently went inactive.
Yep. Same with you?
No, I'm not licensed. No,
okay,
I've never been licensed.
Right. I'm in the same boat. Was licensed 4 years ago just to keep an inactive license. I'm not about to go to take that test again ever. If I ever make a decision to go do that again, right?
Right. And I'm staring at 120 hours of CE.
Yeah. I figured out if you just break that into chunks and do it over the 2-year period, because it's probably the same there. You have to do the 24 hours of CE credit in 2 years, right?
120 a year.
Oh gosh, yeah. Come to Arizona, bro. It's much better here. Anyways, yeah. So it's that part's important, but when it comes down to kind of the organization, direct mail, doing bandit signs, have you done any online marketing or anything like that?
Yeah, so I can tell you I've done it several times. So I've done some Google AdWords.
Yep.
I didn't have much success with that, and it's probably because I didn't stick with it just like anything else. And then last year I spent about $12,000 on Facebook, and I got one lead out of the deal. But now this year, of course, we've started back with Facebook, because I feel like that's going to be the wave of the future. And once that's figured out the right way, then I think that's going to be the new Google AdWords. And so we've been running with Facebook now for maybe a little over a month. Yeah. I mean, you can call it lucky, but we first got this thing started, and I think our cost per lead was somewhere around $19 to get a lead. and we nailed the deal just right out of the gates, right? So we're still
On Facebook?
on Facebook, yes. And so we're still perfecting it and getting better at it. But, it's something that's kind of new. But I was glad to see that. And it definitely encouraged me to stick with Facebook now and get this thing figured out.
Right. I mean, if you ask somebody like Gary Vee, he's all about Facebook and Instagram, right? Those are the way of the future. And, there's so much data. And there is. I mean, everybody's on Facebook. Your grandparents are on Facebook.
Right.
Everybody's on Facebook. So all that cumulative data is, something that should be worked. I'm currently not doing that, but it is on my list of stuff to do, in the next coming up soon.
Right.
What would you say one of the major struggles that you have right now? I would only assume that the Houston market, although it is a huge market, is very similar to like a Phoenix, right? Where there is a lot of competition out there. Home prices have been going up for a while. Everybody thinks their house is worth way more than it actually is because they watch the news, whatever. So what would you say is a major struggle that you're dealing with right now?
Major struggle that we're dealing with, I'd say, is hiring.
Okay.
We need to grow, and the best way for that is for us to hire and finding the right people. That's our big emphasis. We want to find the right person that fits our team, and it's just a challenge.
Right.
Once we find those right people, it's going to be training. So just it's ever revolving between hiring and training.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, that's our major thing. From the Houston market, it's competitive, but we found that there's enough for everyone. There's so many cash transactions going on a daily basis that that at any time, even if we're doing, for us, let's say we're doing anywhere between 12 to 15 deals a month. We're not even scratching the surface. So. Getting the deals has not been so much of the problem, but getting the right people, right? And for us, it's all about, not only do we have the right people, but do they fit our core values? And that's probably one of the most important things for us is that as we bring people into the team, are they a cultural fit? Do they fit our core values? And do they have the skills to be able to do the job, correctly, efficiently? And so that's, I think that's been probably the biggest thing, for us. And like kind of like what Andy said, right now we're in a growth phase, and finding the right people is probably going to be that's probably our most difficult step right now.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's an ever-changing thing, right? Because as soon as you find one good person, they're either going to leave, find something better. Most likely, because that's just the way that the universe works.
Right.
Where was I going to go with that? Would you? Because that's always kind of the case. Would you want to stay in single family? And actually, let me backtrack a little bit. 12 to 15 deals a month is quite a bit. It's quite a few for sending out 15,000 mailers a week, right? So, was there a certain targeted list that you're hitting that is a better conversion than another list, or are you sending out a letter or a postcard? Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So, for us, the most responsive list has always been the tax delinquent list.
Okay.
Has been the most responsive, followed by probates, would be in a kind of a second place position. The other thing of it is that what we didn't talk about, because we were talking about what the marketing side, is that Andy and I, we've been out building kind of the brand of Drayco in our market, right? We do like miniature masterminds. We put on our own meetup, and it's really just to spread the word of who we are. And we work with other wholesalers to basically help them get started in the business. We're not doing any coaching. Everything that we do is for free.
Right.
Okay? So what that has also done for us is that we've been we have quite a bit of our deals that come in through referrals. So it's kind of a we call it self-generated business, and that's something that we've been doing well at over the past 6 to 8, probably in the last 10 months. We've done a lot in referrals where people are just bringing us their deals, and whether we'll buy them or we'll sign it to us or we do a JV. But that's been a big part of our business as well.
And that's huge. That's a big nugget for all the listeners out there because, you're going out there, you're giving free information, right? Everything is for free. They come to a meetup, it's free. You have YouTube videos or anything like that that's out there?
It's in the works.
Yeah, that's all in the
Okay. So the key matter about that is that you're giving all this free content. And when you do that, then you get people that listen to it, you know, the people that watch it. Maybe then they start sending out direct mail, or they start, you know, they do some sort of marketing to pick up a deal. And then who do they come to first? Of course, you, the thought leader they learn from. So ultimately, as much as you're giving the information for free, it's actually giving you a return, right? Because you have no money out because it's all free, you know, other than your time, which I guess can be expensive, but that's a huge nugget. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going here in the next 5 years? Where do you think Drayco is going to go as a company? And where do you see yourself?
Well, the next 5 years, we ought to be in a few markets. So I'd say 5 years, at least 3 to 5 markets.
Okay.
We had originally on our plans this year at the Q4 that we were going to introduce another market.
Okay.
Which would mean right now we would need to be looking at what that next market needs to be and getting ready to grow. What we found was we need to go deeper here in Houston. We need to hit a certain plateau before we go out elsewhere. And, you know, that kind of shifted some things, but in 5 years, we'd definitely be in multiple markets.
Right. Yeah. You know, that's something I hear from a ton of different people, right? Oh, I want to go to this market. I want to go to that market that's not at your home base. And I know that Houston is one of those markets that is gigantic, right? You don't need to leave there. You got everything you need there. And I know also too, when you do go to other markets, your problems just change, right? You're not necessarily going to get more or less of them, but you're going to get problems because you have to learn a new market, a new territory. You have different buyers. You have different, you know, market conditions or even environmental conditions. For an example, I'm from Iowa. Well, if I go buy a property in Iowa, now I have 4 seasons to worry about. Here in Phoenix, we have summer and almost summer. That's our season. So, you know, it's quite a bit different of a property that I'm worried about, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's something that you might run into. I'm sure that you will, but I'm excited to hear that you have that aspiration that you're going to go into different markets because, you know, I'm sure that you do a fantastic job for the area and for your market there in Houston, and so you'll do the same thing.
Right.
So. That is a great transition for us to kind of move into a lightning round here. I have a few questions for you. Ready for that?
We're ready.
Okay. What is your hashtag investors tip that you can give to the listeners to keep them moving forward?
So I'll start that off. So, you know, for me, it's your KPIs, your key performance indicators.
Huge.
I talked to a number of, you know, wholesalers, whether they're getting started or have been in the business for a while. And they'll say things like, well, my direct mail isn't working, right? Okay, well, give me the numbers. What's not working? And they don't know the answer to that, right? And so the KPIs, we meet every Tuesday and we go through ours, right? So it's kind of our guiding light. So we know what's working, what's not working, you know, what's our cost per lead, per marketing channel, you know, what's our cost per buy, how many appointments do we need to see? So those numbers are key if you're planning on growing your business, but also if you're planning on spending money in your business, you need to know what those numbers are. If not, you could be wasting money.
Oh gosh, yeah. You can see the health of a business just by the numbers. You know, your P&L at the end of the month, checking that out. So appreciate that. How about you, Andy? What type of tip do you have?
It would be find your 5. So for all new investors, or for all new entrepreneurs rather, as Ed Milet said, becoming an entrepreneur is the greatest self-discovery process that you'll ever come across. And you need those 5 people, not only to push you forward, but to pull you forward. You need people that are a little bit ahead of you, people that are on your level, and people that, you know, you can help guide as well, because the highest form of learning is teaching.
Right.
As long as you're mixing with the right people, the right 5, and then, you know, you have a better chance for success. You can't go at this business alone. Right.
And so when you're talking about the right 5, you're talking about 5 people to surround yourself with on a consistent basis. I just want to make sure I have that right.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. That's huge. Favorite book you've ever read and the impact it's had on your life and on your business?
So for me, it's actually 2 books because they're kind of a play off each other, and that was the E-Myth and also Traction. And so, you know, as I look at the E-Myth, the E-Myth talks about really learning the craft, right? Learning what you do first. So then you can go and teach others how to do it. And some people actually get that backwards and they start hiring people and they don't even know how to do the job. But from there, it's about can you get outside of the job and be able to build a business? And that's what we've, been working on here is, can we fire ourselves? Andy's always saying, we need to fire Undrea from multiple different jobs. But we're, every day we're thinking of ways, how can we fire ourselves from something that we're doing, right?
Yep.
And hire somebody else who can take care of that so we can think more on a growth level and a higher level and really build out the business. And then from a traction standpoint, when we started this out, we didn't have a lot of names and boxes. We had an organizational chart, but guess what? Every name was just Andy and myself.
Right.
But slowly but surely now we've of course built that out, and we got names in the boxes that can go out and help carry this team even when we're not in the house. And now I feel like more like we're running a business versus just being inside of the business.
Yeah, those are two phenomenal books. Matter of fact, I keep Traction just right here all the time because it's one of those books where you can't just read it once. You have to always be looking back, and you forget about things, right? Mm-hmm. And the E-Myth too. We all come with three hats. We have an entrepreneur hat, we have a manager hat, and we have a technician hat. Obviously, we all get started as technicians, right, and we got to manage things throughout the way. But eventually, you have to get and become an entrepreneur, right?
Right. And
so the franchise prototype and building your business that way, it sounds like you guys are doing that, which is fantastic. So you can replicate yourself and go to another market, right? I mean, that's what it is. How about you, Andy? You got a favorite book?
My favorite book of all time is The Goal.
The Goal.
The Goal.
Never heard of that.
It's by Goldratt. You're a supply chain guy. You should. It's all about the theory of constraints. And as well, challenging your thought. It's an economist perspective on manufacturing.
Okay.
But it's all about efficiencies and how it really makes you challenge your thinking.
Okay.
As far as, we only look at improving efficiency in any system. It works in sales and marketing as well in this business.
Right.
It's the efficiency of the system as a whole that matters. So in any business, there's a constraint. You need to manage the constraint in order to grow. And that's what The Goal is about.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those books. I actually don't have The Goal. I probably won't get it either. I'm out of that side of things. Past that point in my life, but
all about aligning your sales to your operations.
Okay, so maybe it is a pretty good thing.
Right.
Of course, we know each other from a mastermind group, and mastermind and advice from people is really important. So who's given you the best advice ever? And what has that impact been on your life or business?
So, for me, I had to go back to, it was like the early 2000s, maybe even been 2000. I was a part of a network marketing company. And there was a guy in there named Ron Reynolds. And he had this little workbook. He actually had a little book. It wasn't that long, but it's called The Magic of Goals. It kind of goes in the same line that Andy, we didn't practice this or anything like that, but it was called The Magic of Goals. But this guy had this it was like a little cheap workbook where you wrote down, your 1 year, your 5 year, your 10, and your 30-year goals. And you basically just went nonstop, no matter what. And so, but one of the things he said to me was, is to write down your goals, because if you don't write them down, they're just a dream. Okay. Right. And ever since that day, I've always written my goals every year. And then now it's funny. I've gone back to that little blue book. I mean, he had us write everything, like selfish things. It didn't matter. But I went back to that book, which was now since almost 20 years ago. And I was just amazed at all the things I had accomplished that I didn't even think was, when I wrote it, I didn't even think it was possible. One of them was run a business. One of them was real estate. At the time, I wasn't even thinking about real estate. And look where I'm at now. So I'm a big believer at writing down your goals.
You hear that all the time. I would be lying flat out to you if I said I wrote down my stuff all the time. It stays up here. And what happens when it stays up here is it stays up here. It doesn't actually happen, right? So I'm a very firm believer in what you said. Matter of fact, it's a great reminder for me. I need to start writing stuff down. So thank you for that. Andy, what about you?
Well, it was write your goals down.
That's okay, because that's a powerful one.
It's extremely powerful. Yeah, it was a commitment for me. It was writing things down. But if I'm forced to do something different, oh man, right now on the spot.
No, I mean, that is a phenomenal, I mean, that's a great piece of advice to give out to the listeners, right? Write stuff down. You know, it's very simple. It's very concise, but it's super powerful, like we just said. So if we want to end off on that, you don't have to think of anything else.
No, we probably should have talked about that first.
Let me go in. How do you like to give back? I'm sure that, you know, in some way, shape, or form, you do the meetups, you're giving all the free content, and in a lot of ways, that's giving back enough. But is there anything else that you do to give back?
Yeah. So last year, you know, part of our mastermind, I don't know if you were there at that point, but we had Frank McKinney there. And so Frank McKinney basically is a part of a foundation that's building houses in Haiti and helping people who, you know, they don't have running water. They were living in huts. Kids were eating these little mud patties for food. And so he came out and, you know, came to us and really spoke to us about the situation that was going on there. And so we were able to go out and build a house in Haiti, donate to build a house in Haiti, you know, a house that was, of course, could, you know, withstand a class 5 or whatever you call it, hurricane, something that, you know, had water. And also they were building communities. And that's the thing I liked about it. It wasn't just giving the money. They were actually building the communities, teaching them how to start an economy so that they can go and take care of themselves. And so that was been one of the ways that we've been able to give back outside of just our meetups. And, you know, right now we're actually, that's one of the things that has been on our heart right now, is to find a charity that we both believe in, that we can stand behind, that brings us nothing back to the business. Right. And, you know, and the thing about the meetup is we have the meetup and we give away everything. I mean, we give out all our information, but at the end of the day, it always, you know, it brings back to the business. And now, you know, it's been on our heart to be able to do something that does nothing with real estate, but we're able to just go back and be able to help. So that's what we're in the search of right now.
Yep, absolutely. So I was there at that event as well. When Frank McKinney came in and Real Estate Worldwide, and everybody's putting in funds to build these self-sustaining cities, right, in Haiti. I haven't had a chance to go to Haiti yet. Hopefully I will at some point. But, that's changing lives around the world. You know, so the impact of doing that is massive, right? So thank you for that. Andy, you have anything to add to that?
We're looking for that next organization. So
right.
we started the conversation about a month ago. We started actually in January. We need to find something, you know, and we're June 27th. It was supposed to be by June 1st. We were supposed to have an organization that we were going to give to. That was our second quarter goal at Attraction. So it's we need to come up with something.
And you know what's crazy? And you said the date. It's the 27th, and it's the 27th episode. Just happened to fall on that day. So pretty good. But, you know, that's a great segue into our final question. And that is, how can they reach you? How can our listeners reach you if they have an idea for an organization, or they're somewhere in Houston and want to know more about fix and flipping, wholesaling, if they want to come to your meetup, whatever it might be, where can they find you?
So they can go to DraycoProperties.com.
Okay.
Or they can go to, you know, I have a very unique spelling to my name, and some people will call me Undrea for that reason. But if you
Are
just
you pointing fingers?
I'm not pointing any fingers here, but in most cases, Drayco Properties, if you Google, you'll get us. But and my name is the same way. It's Undrea King, Undrea King. That would lead you to me, to my Facebook, any social media, my phone number probably also. I just have one of those names. If you Google me, you get me.
Perfect.
You get a race shop.
Right. I bet. Well, you know, hey guys, I really appreciate you being here today. Kind of going over what your structure is, the way that you've, hired people, and that sounds like one of your, goals that you're doing moving forward, is to hire the right people so that you can expand kind of your big picture plan to move into, some other markets and really expand Drayco Properties and to, provide value across the country, not just in the Houston market. Appreciate you talking about the way that you're structured with all of the people that you have in your company right now, kind of what your marketing channels are as well. A lot of golden nuggets were stuck there. The tip of looking at your KPIs. That is number one for any business out there, right? If you don't know your numbers, you don't have a business. Or if you do, it's going to soon be gone, right? So thank you for sharing that. The 2 books, the E-Myth, Traction, The Goal, all those are great. And, just to write down your goals, that is the number one thing, that the best advice you've been given and something to live by. Know your KPIs and write down your goals. I think if you just do those 2 things, you'll probably have a winner. And, finally, the fact that you're charitable enough to go look for organizations where you can contribute to change the lives of people around the world. So once again, appreciate you guys being here today, and we'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.